Then we come to Rumsfeld. I've got this on tape at home. He went on Larry King Live and he was asked just after 9/11 what he was doing on that morning. And he says that he was in his office at 8 o'clock at the Pentagon, just down the corridor from the command center that reacts to hijacks. And the plane was just taking off, the first one, Flight 11 from Boston. And he said he was hosting a group of politicians to talk about terrorism. Whoa, synchronicity day that was. He said that after a while someone walked in, it's all on tape, and gave him a note, and he read it, and it said that a plane had hit the World Trade Center. He said he walked out to get a CIA briefing. He said, and within 15 minutes, he said, of leaving the room, getting the note, he felt a jarring thing, which was the Pentagon being hit on the far, far side of the building. So he's given us a timeline here. Pentagon hit 20 to 10. Go back 15 minutes, we're 25 past 9. He's saying that the head of the military, the defense secretary, the Pentagon, was handed a note at 25 past 9 to tell him that the World Trade Center had been hit by the first plane at 9:45, and they never mentioned the little detail that another bugger had hit at 3 minutes past 9, and no one had told him that another plane was heading towards the sodding Pentagon. Nonsense. This is the regulations that they have to follow. The command center will, with the exception of immediate responses, forward requests for Department of Defense assistance to the Secretary of State of Defense for approval. It goes on to say the Secretary of Defense has to be told immediately there's a problem. 25 past 9. Well, soon enough. Nonsense. This guy, Richard Myers, he said on American military radio and television that he was on Capitol Hill about to go into a meeting with a politician called Max Cleland when he saw on the television that the World Trade Center had been hit. He's the uniform head of the US military, just down the road in the Pentagon. What does he do? Does he get on the phone? Does he say, what's going on? No. He said he went into the meeting with Max Cleland. He said he came out, no one told him about the second plane. He came out, he said, and immediately he came out of the meeting, someone said, another plane's at the World Trade Center, and he said, just after that, someone said, the Pentagon's been hit. Timeline. He went into the meeting, he claims, before 3 minutes past 9, because he didn't know about the second plane, comes out around 20 to 10 when the Pentagon was hit, and he is saying that no one told him the second plane had hit, that another plane was heading towards the Pentagon in all that bloody time. Nonsense. That guy was somewhere else that we'll come to in a second. It's all a frickin' lie, the whole bloody thing. Richard Clarke, who was the White House terrorism advisor, has said in a book that he was part of a teleconference during the 9/11 attacks, and one of the people involved in the teleconference was General Richard Myers, who was not with a meeting with Max bloody Cleland at all, just as Rumsfeld was telling a pack of lies about what happened to him. What was actually going on, has become clear since, is that there were a series of Air Force military exercises in the airspace involving the 9/11 planes that were symbolizing attacks on America. On that morning of all mornings, this was going on under various names. A number of them involved hijacked planes, but one of them involved a plane hitting a building. What a coincidence, stands back in amazement. And who was it that was in charge of this whole shebang that morning? Dick Cheney, Vice President. And what's becoming clear is this: NORAD and the FAA and all these other people had elements involved in all these exercises. And so when it started hearing things about hijacked plane heading for this, hijacked plane heading for there, people were actually saying, is this real or is this the exercise? Complete bloody confusion, which is exactly what those exercises were set up to do on that day, and they had the desired effect. And amid that confusion, nothing was done. This is what another thing that happened. 6 air traffic controllers who dealt with 2 of the hijacked airliners on that day made a tape of their experiences on what happened and what they were dealing with. And the tape was destroyed by a supervisor without anyone making a transcript or even listening to it, the Department of Transport said today. It was destroyed by FAA Quality Assurance Manager, who crushed the cassette in his hand, cut the tape into little pieces, and then dropped them into different trash cans around the building. Do you reckon he didn't want us to hear it, or what? And all around the 9/11 you find stuff that was relevant being destroyed. Evidence. Elephant in the living room. My God. Inside job from start to finish. Total freaking lies. I was in Australia, and this guy who is involved in the computer system that defends Australian airspace from air attacks was with me for a day, and he told me that the airspace over the Canberra Parliament building involves a system that if a pilot enters that airspace, he is invited not by a human being but by a computer to punch in a 4-digit code that gives him permission to fly through that airspace. If it's not punched in a very short time, then the plane is taken out by ground-to-air missiles. That's what happens in Australia. What happened when Flight 77 came in to the Pentagon? Nothing. I mean, there's no air defense to the Pentagon. They've admitted they've got ground-to-air defense for the White House. I mean, couldn't they just point them a little bit in the other direction? I mean, the Pentagon's not far. Nothing. Because it was being allowed to happen. No one has to direct an assassination. It happens. The active role is played by secretly permitting it to happen. This is the greatest single clue. Who has the power to call off the usual security precautions? Who had that power? The very people who've used 9/11 to take away basic freedoms and launch a war on terrorism. In other words, a war of slaughter. Then we've got this thing. I don't understand this. I think it's really strange. You know where the classic shot of the Pentagon is the big wall had fallen? Well, that happened about 20 minutes to half an hour after impact. Before that, that's basically the area of the hole. Must have been a sodding small plane, that's all I can say. Whatever it was. It's the size of the plane it was supposed to be, and just take into account that wall fell not on impact, but 20 minutes to half an hour afterwards. I think there might have been a bit more wreckage about than we saw, actually, myself, if that had been the case. And there was that hole on the other side. They said the reason there was no wreckage is the plane disintegrated when it hit the building. Well, a bit of it didn't. It came out the other side inside. What was that? Oh yeah, there was a bit of wreckage. I can see them now. Yeah. Hey, I think we got away with it. God. Now, what the plane was supposed to have done was smack onto the ground just before it hit the building. They got the lawn right quick, didn't they?